Now let's begin with scene 2. I'm going to explain that to you now. Scene 2 takes place in a room in Portia's house at Belmont, right? In a room in Portia's house at Belmont. The first scene took place in Venice. The second scene is taking place at Belmont. Now enter Portia with her waiting woman, Nerissa. Portia says, by my troth here means truth, by my truth, Nerissa, my little body is aweary. Aweary means tired of this great world. My body is tired of this great world. Now, from this opening speech of Portia and her dialogue, what she says that she is tired of this world. What does it show? It shows the pessimism that she is being very pessimistic here. Even she is upset, she is in a melancholic mood. All right. The way Antonio was. In the beginning of Act 1, we find Antonio to be melancholic. And in the beginning, Act 1, Scene 1, and in the beginning of Scene 2, we find Portia also to be melancholic or upset because she finds that she is tired of this world. And for that, but the reasons are different that you will come to know. Nerissa says, you would be sweet, madam. Of course, you would be if your miseries were in the same abundance. In the same abundance means as plentiful. If your miseries are as plentiful as your good fortunes are, the way you have so much of money, the way you have good fortunes, your good fortunes are in plenty. If you have your miseries also in the same way, then of course you will be tired of this world. And yet, for aught I see, aught means anything. And yet, for anything I see, they are as sick that surfeit with too much. Surfeit means overfed with too much. They are as sick that surfeit with too much, that are overfed with too much, as they that starve with nothing. As they that starve means hungry. Those who are hungry with nothing. So, Nerissa tries to philosophize here and she says that if people eat too much, those who have too much to eat, those who are overfed, even they fall sick in the same way as those fall sick who have nothing to eat or those who are hungry. So, what is she trying to say? That just because your good fortunes are in same abundance as your misery, that is why you are sad. It is no mean happiness. Mean here means small, poor. So, in this way, it is not a small, poor happiness to, therefore, to be seated in the mean. This mean means middle. So, therefore, it is not small happiness to be somewhere seated in the middle, to be placed in the middle. Middle what? In between poverty and riches. Okay, poverty and riches. So what is she trying to say? That it is always better to be neutral, to be seated in the middle, not to have too much and not to have too less. Superfluity comes sooner by white hairs, but competency lives longer. Superfluity means having too much, abundance, having too much. That is known as superfluity. Abundance, having too much, comes sooner by white hair. White hair means old age. Those who have too much of wealth, they become old very early. They will age sooner. But competency lives longer. Competency means having enough. Competency is having enough. But those who have enough means as much as is desired, they live longer. Okay, so when Portia expresses her feelings of sadness to Nerissa, saying that she is tired of this world, Nerissa tries to philosophize it and says that, of course, you will be tired when your miseries are in great abundance of your great wealth. Those people who are overfed with too much, they also fall sick exactly in the same way those who are hungry because they don't have anything to eat. So that is why it is no small happiness when we are seated in the middle. Neither we should have much nor less. And she gives another example saying that abundance comes sooner by age, while competency means having enough lives longer. For that, Portia says good sentences and well pronounced. Sentences here means proverbs. She says that good proverbs, these maxims, that these proverbs that you are using, they are very good and very well spoken. Nerissa says they would be better if well followed. But these proverbs would become even better if they are well followed. We should not only just listen to them, we should obey them. If they are well obeyed, if they are well followed. For that, Portia says, if to do were as easy to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches, and poor men's cottages princesses' palaces. Now, of course, Portia also knows what all Nerissa is saying. And Nerissa says that you must not only listen to these things, you should try to follow them, you should try to obey them. But then Portia contradicts her, saying that if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, अगर अच्छा करना उतना ही आसान होता जितना आसान ये जानना होता है कि अच्छा क्या है, right? If to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches. Now, let me tell you, chapels are also, they are small churches. Chapel is also a church which accommodate less people, church with less worshippers. Okay, with less worshippers or less people, whereas churches are bigger and they accommodate big number of people, right? So what is she trying to say? She is trying to say that if to know see, if to do what is good to be done would have been as easy as it is to know what is good to be done, then chapels had been churches, chapels would have become churches, and poor men's cottages princesses' palaces. सी देर आर टू काइंड्स ऑफ टेम्पल्स. एक टेम्पल आपके कहीं कॉलोनी में कोई छोटा सा होगा, आपने अपने घर में भी कोई टेम्पल बनाया हुआ होगा, बट व्हाई इज इट दैट व्हेन वी हैव टू यू नो वी ऑलवेज लाइक टू गो टू वैष्णो देवी और समटाइम्स हियर टू डाट काली मंदिर, वहां पर जो गॉड या गॉडेस है, आर दे एनी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम व्हाट यू हैव एट योर होम और इन योर कॉलोनी? No, but see, there is no difference, but still people believe. That's why they do so. Similarly, a poor man's cottage is also a home to live. That is also a kind of shelter. And a prince's palace is also a kind of shelter. Okay, so that is what she is trying to say. Okay, we all know what is good for us to do, but we are not able to do it. Doing is very much difficult than believing, right? Have you understood this?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, she further talks about it, saying that it is a good divine that follows his own teaching. It is a good divine, by divine here means, she means a priest. A, that is a good priest who follows his own instructions. Otherwise, it is always easy to give instructions to others, but following them on our own is very difficult. I can easier teach 20 what were good to be done than to be one of the 20 to follow mine own teaching. I can easier teach 20 people what were good to be done. मैं 20 लोगों को सिखा सकती हूँ कि क्या अच्छी चीजें हैं करने के लिए, than to be one of the 20. लेकिन मैं उन 20 में से एक बन नहीं सकती who follow mine own teaching, कि मैं खुद अपनी बातों को फॉलो करूं जो मैं औरों को सिखा रही हूं. The brain may devise laws for the blood. The brain here refer to mind, reasoning, huh? Mind. The brain may devise laws for the blood. Blood here means will, desire, इच्छा जिसको बोलते हैं. Reason and will. Similarly, mind and body. Okay, the brain may devise laws for the will, mind may devise many laws for the body. हमारा दिमाग बहुत सारे कानून बनाता है, बहुत सारे rules बताता है हमारी body को. But a hot temper here, a hot temper leaps over a cold decree. Decree means advice. But a hot temper means heat of desire leaps over, jumps over, or disobeys a cold advice. Such a hair is madness. The youth And such a hare, she compares to this hot temper with a hare, rabbit. Such a hare is madness, the youth. All right. To skip over the meshes of good counsel, the cripple. And such a rabbit, such a hare is madness. और यही पागलपन है, और वो पागलपन किसका है? यूथ का है, दिस यंग एज. क्योंकि ये यंग एज ऐसी ही होती है, to skip over the meshes of good counsel, because it skips over. Youthful high spirits are like a hare which easily skips over the meshes. Meshes means nets of good counsel, of good advice, the cripple. Okay, the cripple means limping good advice. All right. But this reasoning is not the fashion, is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. Now she tells the exact reason why she feeling sad. She says that we all have mind for reasoning, but this reasoning is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. Is not in the fashion means is not the proper way to choose me a husband. But this reasoning cannot be used as the proper way to choose me a husband. Oh me, the word choose. I may neither choose who I would means wish, want, nor refuse who I dislike. Then she tells her own condition that she cannot choose nor refuse anybody. So, is the will of a living daughter, will means here desire, desire of a living daughter curbed, curbed means controlled or restrained by the will of a dead father. यहाँ will से मतलब क्या है? Legacy, that legal will of a dead father. इस तरह से एक जिंदा बेटी की इच्छा को एक मरे हुए बाप की विल ने कंट्रोल किया हुआ है, कर्ब किया हुआ है. Is it not hard, Nerissa? Nerissa, isn't it difficult that I cannot choose one nor refuse one? कि ना तो मैं किसी को चूज कर सकती हूँ और ना ही किसी को रिफ्यूज कर सकती हूँ. So, as I told you, that in the beginning of this scene, Portia is also melancholic. She is equally sad the way Antonio was sad or melancholic. But the difference is that Antonio doesn't know the reason of his melancholy, while Portia is sad over the reason that she doesn't have the power or the authority to choose her own husband. Okay? Is it clear, Ritisha, till here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when she expresses this reason of being upset, Nerissa tries to console her. Nerissa says, your father was ever virtuous. Ever means always. Virtuous means very wise, very righteous kind of person who always does right things. That person is called virtuous, full of virtues. Your father was always virtuous, and holy men, and such holy men, such people at their death have good inspirations. Inspirations here means divine inspirations. और जब ऐसे लोग मरते हैं, they always have some divine inspirations. Right? So your father was a holy person, he was a virtuous person, and such people, they always get some divine inspirations at the time of their death. Therefore, the lottery that he has devised in these three chests are caskets or boxes of gold, silver, and lead, whereof, out of which, who chooses his meaning, choose you, out of which, who chooses his meaning means the casket which he knows, chooses you, will no doubt never be chosen any rightly, but one who you shall rightly love. So she is trying to, on behalf of her father, she tries to explain her that your father was a very virtuous person, and such people, they always get some kind of divine inspiration at the time of their death. So therefore, this lottery of caskets which he has devised, this lottery that he has devised in these three boxes, in these three caskets of gold, silver, and lead, that whosoever chooses the right casket will get you as his wife, will definitely be the person whom you should love. But what warmth is there in your affection? Affection means feeling or love towards any of these princely suitors that are already come. But what affection or what kind of feelings you have for these suitors who have already come here to Belmont? So it means that some suitors have already arrived at Belmont to try their luck over the caskets to marry Portia. Right? Have you understood till here?
Yes.
For that, Portia says, I pray thee, overname them. Overname them means call them one by one. Overname them, and as thou namest them, and as you take their name, I will describe them, and according to my description level at my affection. According to my description level at means judge my affection, my feelings for that person. Okay, you call them one by one, and as you take the name, I will describe that person, and according to my description, you can judge my feelings for him or my affection for him. All right. So let's do
Ma'am,
till
what is
here.
the meaning of
Yes,
ma'am, what is
Ritika.
the meaning of though? THOU?
Thou, that means you. Thou is you.
Ma'am, can we finish this scene because only 2 pages are left?
Yeah, but chalo. Okay. So for that, Nerissa says, first there is the Neapolitan prince. Neapolitan prince means prince from Naples. Naples is a place in Italy only. So she says, first of all, there is Neapolitan prince. There is a prince who has come from Naples. Portia says, I means yes. That's a court indeed. Actually, he is a court. Court, you understand? A young horse. Huh?
Young horse.
A young horse is known as court. Yes, that's a court indeed. For because he does nothing, does means does. He does nothing but talk of his horse, and he makes it a great appropriation. Great appropriation. Appropriation means praise. He take it as a great praise to his own good parts, to his own good qualities, that he can shew him himself, that he can shew him himself. Shew him himself means that he can control him himself. Okay. I'm much afeared. Afeared means afraid. My lady, his mother, played false with a smith. I am very afraid that my lady means his mother played
Ma'am, this
false
part is
with a
not there in my book.
pardon.
Ma'am, from this
Acha,
part,
this
I
this
feared. This part is not there.
Huh,
It's
so
only
it
till.
is not in your syllabus, it means. Okay. So now when Nerissa asked about this first prince, that is who is from Naples, she asked that, what do you have to say about him? So she says, yes, he is a young horse actually, because he does nothing, but he only talks about his horse, and he takes it as a great praise, that on in his good parts, that he can show him himself. Then Nerissa asked him about another suitor. Then is there the county palatine. Then there is another one, a count from Palatinate. Okay, that is a count from Palatinate, who is known as county palatine. What do you have to say about him? Portia says, he does nothing but frown. He does nothing, but he is always angry. He is always frowning. As who should say, and means if you will not have me, choose. He is always such a frowning person, as who should say means as if he were to say, जैसे वो मुझसे ये कहता हो, and you will not have me, choose. तुम्हें मुझे choose करना ही पड़ेगा. He hears merry tales. He hears happy stories, merry tales, and smiles not. He's such a frowning person that he doesn't smile even on happy stories. I fear he will prove the weeping philosopher when he grows old. And she says that I fear, I'm afraid that when he is old, he will prove the weeping philosopher. Weeping philosopher, another reference that has been given for Heraclitus. Heraclitus was a philosopher who was always weeping, and he went to live alone in the mountain because he was so distressed by the mankind. Okay, so she says that I feel that when he grows old, he'll become a weeping philosopher, being so full of unmannerly sadness, because he is so full of unmannerly sadness.
Ma'am,
Unmannerly means
if you
unpleasant.
want.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you please tell me the meaning of weeping philosopher?
Weeping philosopher here refers to Heraclitus. Heraclitus, Heraclitus, who was always weeping. What does it mean? That, he was always sad. He never liked anybody in the world. And that is why he even went to live alone in the mountains, because he was so distressed by the stupidity of mankind. He always found other people stupid. Okay. So she says, I'm afraid that he will become a weeping philosopher when he grows old, because being so full of unmannerly sadness in his youth. Though he is young, but he is full of such unpleasant sadness. He is always sad. I had rather be married to a death's head with a bone in his mouth. Death's head means skull. Okay, I had rather be married. इससे अच्छा होगा कि मैं एक skull से शादी कर लूं with a bone in his mouth than to either of these. Either of these means that Neapolitan prince and this county palatine. Uh, uh, I don't want to marry any of these. It would be better if I marry a skull. God defend me from these two. भगवान बचाए मुझे इन दोनों से. Right? So she doesn't like both of them. Then Nerissa says, how say you by the French lord, Monsieur Le Bon? उसके बारे में क्या कहना है? फ्रेंच लॉर्ड, जो फ्रांस से जो लॉर्ड आया है, Monsieur Le Bon, मिस्टर ली बॉन, उसके बारे में क्या कहेंगे आप? Portia says, God made him and therefore let him pass for a man. Just because God made him, क्योंकि भगवान ने उसे बनाया है, so let him pass, let him be accepted. फॉर अ मैन, लेट हिम बी एक्सेप्टेड एज अ मैन. अदरवाइज उसमें मैनली क्वालिटीज तो कोई है नहीं, लेकिन क्योंकि भगवान ने उसे बनाया है तो उसको मैन कहना पड़ेगा. इन ट्रूथ आई नो इट इज अ सिन टू बी अ मॉकर. इन ट्रूथ आई नो इट इज अ सिन टू बी अ मॉकर. मुझे पता है कि ये बहुत बड़ा पाप है. टू बी अ मॉकर, मॉकर मीन्स मेकिंग फन ऑफ अदर्स, जो दूसरों का मजाक उड़ाता है. दूसरों का मजाक उड़ाना बहुत बड़ा पाप है. बट ही, लेकिन वो, why? He had a horse better than the Neapolitans. उसके पास तो नेपोलिटन से भी ज्यादा अच्छा हॉर्स है. And a better bad habit of frowning than the county palatine. और भी अच्छी बुरी आदत है गुस्सा करने की, काउंटी पैलेटाइन से भी ज्यादा. ही इज एवरी मैन इन नो मैन. वो कोई आदमी नहीं है और हर आदमी है. What does it mean? That he always tries to imitate others. If a throstle sing, he falls straight a capering. If a throstle sing, throstle is a bird. अगर एक bird भी गाना लगे, he falls straight a capering. A capering means dancing. वो सीधा डांस करना शुरू कर देता है. He will fence his own shadow. Fence his own shadow. He will fence. Fence means that dual fencing. Draw his sword. Fencing is the art of, you know, using sword. He will fence his own shadow. वो इतना बेवकूफ है कि अपनी परछाई से वो तलवार से लड़ने लगेगा. If I should marry him, I should marry 20 husbands. उससे शादी करने का मतलब है कि मैं 20 husbands से शादी करूंगी. Why? Because he has everybody else's characteristics. Because he has everybody else's features. If he would despise means hate me. If he would hate me, dislike me, I would forgive him. अगर वो मुझे नफरत करेगा, मुझे पसंद नहीं करेगा, इस बात के लिए मैं उसे माफ कर सकती हूँ. For because if he love me to madness, लेकिन अगर वो मुझे प्यार करेगा, love me passionately, I shall never requite him. Requite means respond to his love. I will never respond to his love. It's better that he should hate me. I am ready to accept his hatred, and I will forgive him for that. But I cannot accept his love. I cannot respond to his love. Is it clear, Ritisha? Yes, Ritisha, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then Nerissa says, what say you then to Falconbridge, the young baron of England? तो फिर फाकनब्रिज के बारे में क्या कहना है तुम्हारा? हु इज अ यंग बैरन ऑफ इंग्लैंड, जो इंग्लैंड से आया है. बैरन इज अगेन अ पोस्ट, एज अ डेजिग्नेशन. Portia says, I say nothing to him. मैं उससे कुछ नहीं कहती हूँ. For because he understands not me nor I him. क्योंकि ना तो वो मुझे समझता है, ना ही मैं उसे समझती हूँ. He hath neither Latin, French nor Italian. He hath learnt neither Latin, French nor Italian. ना उसको लैटिन आती है, ना फ्रेंच आती है, ना इटालियन आती है. And you will come into the court and swear that I have a poor pennyworth. Poor pennyworth means very little knowledge. That I have a very little knowledge in the English. And you are the witness. तुम खुद कोर्ट में आकर ये स्वेयर करोगी कि मेरे को इंग्लिश की बहुत ही कम नॉलेज है. So they can't communicate with each other. He is a proper man's picture. Proper man's picture means he is a handsome person. He is a man of fine appearance. But alas, but it's a sad thing. Who can converse with a dumb show? Who can converse with a dumb show? He is like a dumb show because he doesn't speak. And what he speaks, I am not able to understand. How oddly he is suited. and how strangely he has suited himself, he has dressed himself. Okay, he's dressed. I think he bought his doublet in Italy, his round horse in France, and his bonnet in Germany, and his behavior everywhere. मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है जो doublet, you know, the kind of jacket that they used to wear, that is jacket. He bought his jacket in Italy. जो हॉर्स है उसका, जो नीचे बॉटम है, जो ब्रीचेस हैं, वो उसने फ्रांस से खरीदे हैं, और जो बॉनेट, बॉनेट इज द हैट, वो उसने जर्मनी से खरीदा है, एंड हिज बिहेवियर एवरीवेयर, और उसका बिहेवियर उसने हर जगह से लिया है. Nerissa then asked for another suitor. What think you of the Scottish lord from Scotland, his neighbor? Scotland is near England. That is why she asked, what do you think of that? Portia says that he hath a neighborly charity in him. Neighborly charity means charity for his neighbor. उसके अंदर अपने neighbor को लेके बहुत charity है. For because he borrowed a box of ear of the Englishman. क्योंकि he borrowed means he was given a box of ear. Box of ear, you understand? Bhusa, mukka. He was given a box of the ear of the Englishman. उसको Englishman से मिला, and swore, और उसने कसम खाई, he would pay him again when he was able. और उसने कसम खाई that he will return this box of the ear when he was able. What does it mean? That he was a coward in a way. Okay, when he was beaten by the Englishman, he could not beat him at that time. He said he will do it when he is able. I think the Frenchman became his surety and sealed under for another. And at that time, the Frenchman became his surety. What surety? He guaranteed, the Frenchman guaranteed that he will repay, he would repay the debt. Okay, and sealed under for another. So actually, it has nothing to do, it is a reference which is made to the constant assistance of France, which was given to Scotland in quarrels with the English. At that time, England and Scotland were not having good terms with each other, and France always acted as a mediator between them. Okay, so that reference has been given here. All right, then Nerissa asked for another suitor. How like you, the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew? अब ये जो एक यंग जर्मन है, ड्यूक ऑफ सेक्सनीज नेफ्यू, जो ड्यूक ऑफ सेक्सनी का नेफ्यू, उसका भतीजा जो आया है यंग जर्मन, उसके बारे में तुम्हारा क्या कहना है? Portia says, very wildly in the morning. Wildly means badly, very badly in the morning. When he is sober, when he is sober means when he is not drunk. वो बहुत ही बुरा होता है सुबह के टाइम जब वो पिए हुए नहीं होता, ड्रंक नहीं होता. And most wildly worst in the afternoon when he is drunk. When he is best, best means when he is sober, he is little worse than a man. तब वो इंसान से थोड़ा खराब होता है. And when he is worst means when he is drunk, जब वो पिए हुए होता है, he is little better than a beast. तब वो animal, beast से थोड़ा better होता है. And means if the worst fall that ever fell, अगर मेरे साथ सबसे बुरा होना होगा, I hope I shall make shift to go without him. Make shift means manage to go without him. अगर मेरे साथ सबसे बुरा हो गया, और वो बुरा क्या है? That he chooses the right casket. अगर उसने right casket choose कर लिया, then I will manage to go without him. मैं उसके बिना ही जाऊंगी फिर भी. नेरिसा कहती है, इफ यू शुड ऑफर टू चूज, अगर उसको चूज करने का ऑफर किया जाए, एंड चूज द राइट कास्केट, और वो सही कास्केट को चूज कर ले, यू शुड रिफ्यूज टू परफॉर्म योर फादर्स विल इफ यू शुड रिफ्यूज टू एक्सेप्ट हिम. लेकिन अगर तुम फिर उसको एक्सेप्ट करने से रिफ्यूज करोगी, मना करोगी, तो इन दैट वे यू विल बी रिफ्यूजिंग टू परफॉर्म योर फादर्स विल. तो इसका मतलब तुम अपने पिता की इच्छा से भी मना करोगी. Portia says, therefore, इसीलिए, for fear of the worst, इसी worst के डर से, I pray thee, I request you, set a deep glass of Rhenish wine on the contrary casket. Contrary means wrong casket. इसी डर से I request you, set a deep glass of wine on the wrong casket. गलत casket के ऊपर एक wine रख देना. For if the devil be within, क्योंकि जब उसके अंदर devil होगा, and that temptation without, और वो temptation उसके बाहर होगा, I know he will choose it. He will choose that casket only on which that glass of wine is kept. I will do anything, Nerissa. Ere means before I will be married to a sponge. Sponge is a drunkard. मैं कुछ भी करने को तैयार हूं, लेकिन एक ड्रंकयार्ड, एक शराबी से शादी नहीं करूंगी. Nerissa says, you need not fear, lady. Lady, तुम्हें डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. The having any of these lords, इनमें से कोई भी लॉर्ड तुम्हें मिलेगा, इस बात से तुम्हें डरने की जरूरत नहीं है. They have acquainted me. Acquainted means informed me. उन्होंने मुझे बता दिया है with their determinations. Determinations mean decisions. They have informed me about their decisions, which is indeed, which is actually to return to their home and to trouble you with no more suit. Suit is the request. And their decision is कि वो वापस अपने घर चले जाएंगे और आपको और परेशान नहीं करेंगे, unless you may be won by some other sort. Sort is the way than your father's imposition. Imposition is the condition. जब तक कि तुम्हें पाने का कोई और तरीका नहीं होता बजाय तुम्हारे फादर की कंडीशन के, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द कास्केट्स. So why have they decided to go back and not to choose the among the caskets? Because there is a condition. If they fail to choose the right casket, they will not be able to marry any woman throughout their life. तो उससे पहले कुछ कंडीशंस है जिनके लिए उनको कसम खानी पड़ती है, and they are not ready to fulfill those conditions. So for that, Portia says, if I live to be as old as Sibylla, I will die as chaste as Diana, unless I be obtained by the manner of my father's will. Now she is giving another reference. She says that if I have to live as old as Sibylla, Sibylla was actually a prophetess. वो एक प्रोफेटेस थी. उसने भगवान से वरदान मांगा कि वो कभी ना मर पाए. ओके, सो अपोलो ग्रांटेड हर as many years of life as there were sand grains that she held in her hand, but she asked for life and she forgot to ask for youth. तो वो इतनी बूढ़ी होकर मरी that she turned into a very small size because of her old age. तो वो ये कह रही है, अगर मुझे इतना बूढ़ा भी होना पड़ेगा जितनी सिबिला थी, I will die as chaste as Diana. Diana is the goddess of virginity in Roman mythology. She is also the goddess of moon and she is also the goddess of virginity. She says, I will die as chaste as Diana unless I be obtained by the manner of my father's will. जब तक कि मुझे कोई मेरे फादर की विल के हिसाब से नहीं पाता है. I am glad this parcel of wooers means this group of suitors, crowd of suitors are so reasonable, they are so logical, for there is not one among them but I dote on his very absence. मुझे खुशी है कि ये जो सूटर्स आए थे बहुत लॉजिकल हैं, क्योंकि इनमें से एक भी ऐसा नहीं है दैट आई डॉट ऑन हिज वेरी एब्सेंस, जिसके जाने से मैं परेशान हो जाऊंगी या मैं जिसको जाने देना नहीं चाहती हूँ. एंड आई प्रे गॉड ग्रैंड देम फेयर डिपार्चर. भगवान करे कि वो अच्छे से अपने घर पहुंच जाए. Nerissa then says, do you not remember, lady, in your father's time, a Venetian because he belongs to Venice, a scholar and a soldier that came hither means here, in company of the Marquess of Montferrat. आपको वो याद है एक वेनेशियन जो कि एक स्कॉलर था, एक सोल्जर भी था, जो मार्क्वेस ऑफ मॉन्टफेरेट के साथ यहाँ पर आया था एक बार. तो यस यस, इट वाज बेसानियो. हाँ, वो बेसानियो था. एज आई थिंक सो वॉज ही कॉल्ड, शायद यही उसका नाम था. नरिसा, ट्रू मैडम, जी हाँ यही था. ही ऑफ ऑल द मैन दैट एवर माई फुलिश आईज लुक्ड अपॉन वॉज द बेस्ट डिजर्विंग अ फेयर लेडी. मैंने आज तक जितने आदमी देखे हैं उसमें मुझे लगता है दैट ही वॉज द बेस्ट डिजर्विंग अ फेयर लेडी. एक सुंदर लेडी डिजर्व करने वाला वो ही इंसान है. Portia says, I remember him well. मुझे भी वो अच्छे से याद है. And I remember him worthy of thy praise. और मुझे ये भी याद है कि मतलब वो इस प्रेज, इस एप्रिसिएशन के लायक है. तभी वहां पर एंटर अ सर्विंग मैन मीन सर्वेंट. तभी एक नौकर आता है. हाउ नाउ, व्हाट न्यूज? पोर्शिया पूछती है, क्या खबर है? सर्वेंट कहता है, द फोर स्ट्रेंजर्स सीक फॉर यू मैडम. फोर स्ट्रेंजर्स हियर मींस दो सूटर्स ओनली. वो चार सूटर्स आपको ढूंढ रहे हैं टू टेक देयर लीव, आपकी परमिशन लेने के लिए जाने से पहले. And there is a forerunner. Forerunner means messenger. And there is a messenger came from a fifth, और एक fifth suitor से, who is the prince of Morocco. Fifth suitor कौन है? Prince of Morocco से एक messenger आया है, who brings the word. Word is the message. जो ये खबर लेकर आया है, the prince's master will be here tonight. कि आज उसका प्रिंस जो है यहाँ पर आएगा. Portia says, if I could bid the fifth welcome with so good heart as I can bid the other four farewell, I should be glad of his approach. Approach means arrival. अगर मैं उतनी खुशी के साथ, जितनी खुशी के साथ मैं चारों को विदा कर रही हूँ, उतनी खुशी के साथ मैं इस फिफ्थ को वेलकम कर पाती, तो मुझे उसके आने की खुशी होती। इफ ही हैव द कंडीशन ऑफ अ सेंट एंड द कॉम्प्लेक्शन ऑफ अ डेविल, लेकिन अगर उसकी नेचर तो एक संत की तरह है, लेकिन उसका कॉम्प्लेक्शन एक डेविल की तरह है, आई हैड रादर ही शुड श्राइव मी देन वाइव मी। तो इससे अच्छा होगा दैट ही शुड श्राइव मी, ही शुड हेट मी देन मेकिंग मी हिज वाइफ। कम नरेसा, then she says to servant, Sirrah, go before, तुम हमारे से आगे चलो। Whilst we shut the gate upon one wooer, another knocks at the door। हम अपना दरवाजा एक वूअर, एक सूटर के लिए बंद करते हैं, तो दूसरा आकर खड़ा हो जाता है। मतलब she is a bit irritated, and this way they exit from there।